Tonight, Dreamworld nightmare. 4 people killed in an accident at the Gold Coast theme park.
We are deeply shocked and saddened by this.
Dramatic footage of a police pursuit in the lead-up to a fatal crash in Canberra. A new leadership team for the Canberra Liberals as they begin another 4 years in opposition. And Australia's longest war, Ben Quilty's moving portraits of the families of the fallen.
His ability to look inside you and to see what you try and hide from the world is truly remarkable.
Good evening, James Fettis with ABC News. A fun afternoon has turned to horror in Queensland with 4 people killed in an accident at one of the state's most popular theme parks. Authorities say the family-friendly Thunder River Rapids ride at Dreamworld malfunctioned, trapping 2 passengers and throwing 2 others overboard. The Gold Coast Park has been closed as authorities investigate what caused the accident.
What was meant to be a family fun day turned to tragedy at 2:30. A group had been enjoying a whitewater rafting ride when one of the vessels somehow flipped on its side, killing 4 adults on board.
One of the rides have sustained some sort of malfunction, causing 2 people to be ejected from a ride. Another 2 people were caught inside the ride.
Staff rushed to help, but paramedics say their injuries were too severe and no one could have saved them.
There were staff park people there that were rendering first aid to the people when we got there.
The 2 men and 2 women who died were in their early 30s and 40s.
We are deeply shocked and saddened by this, and our hearts and our thoughts go to the families involved and to their loved ones.
Police say there's no indication there had been any problem with the ride.
Absolutely not. I'm not aware, but that'll be obviously part of the investigation, and that would be one of the aspects that would obviously be looked at.
The Thunder Rivers Rapid is one of the oldest rides at the theme park, a popular choice for families who want to avoid the fast-paced thrills of the other attractions. Each ride can seat 6 and travels down a foamy water track, travelling up to 45 kilometres an hour through rapids. Tourists left the park in shock.
It's probably the first ride we went on this morning, and we thought, being quite a tame ride, that our kids would be fine with it. So, yeah, couldn't imagine anything like this happening.
As a mum, I'm terrified. The one day we decide to come here is when something happens. I mean, you come here for fun.
The Prime Minister has expressed his condolences.
Theme parks are a place for family fun and happiness, not tragedy. This is a very, very sad and tragic event. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who lost their lives.
The park has been closed as investigations continue. Tom Forbes, ABC News, Gold Coast.
A Canberra court has been shown graphic dashcam vision of the horrific moment a speeding vehicle was involved in a fatal crash. The car had been pursued by police at almost 180 kilometres an hour when the driver ran a red light, smashing into a second vehicle. He died at the scene. The chase lasted less than 3 minutes, and a senior police officer told the court he would have called off the pursuit much sooner. And a warning, Gordon Taylor's report contains images some viewers may find distressing.
Timothy Smith-Brown and his pregnant girlfriend led police on a pursuit north along Drakeford Drive in Tuggeranong. Smith-Brown eventually ran a red light at Bonington Crescent and smashed into another car. He was killed in the horrific crash. Other innocent drivers were severely injured. Smith-Brown's girlfriend rushed to hospital where she gave birth. The police dashcam video tells the story. 2 minutes before the fatal collision, police car Tango 55 turned onto Drakeford Drive.
I've got a vehicle failing to stop. It's a maroon Mitsubishi Magna. Stand by.
Timothy Smith-Brown was at the wheel, his pregnant girlfriend beside him.
Heading north on Drakeford Drive.
The police officers were then given a standard warning.
If there's any unjustified risk for any person, you are to terminate pursuit immediately. Do you understand the warning?
Yeah, warning understood, sir. Ignored.
A few seconds later, there was another near miss in busy traffic.
Reason pursuit failed to stop. We're just trying to get close enough to get the registration.
The police driver then reports his speed.
Speed 160 over 80.
5 seconds later, and as the collision happened...
From the Dom, you terminate pursuit. Tango 55, do you copy? Terminate pursuit.
55 terminated. The vehicle's crashed as it went through the intersection of Halloran Drive. Can I get other emergency services here ASAP? Thanks.
This inquest has once again raised the dangers of police pursuits and whether they should be conducted at all. Since the crash, new guidelines severely limit police pursuits. But even under the old guidelines, a senior police officer has told the coroner that this chase should have been terminated much earlier. At Taverner Street, Smith Brown's car was driving so dangerously that senior police officer Sergeant Craig McPherson told the coroner he would have aborted the chase. "I can't resile. I didn't like what happened at Taverner Street." A warning that police pursuits should only be used in the most exceptional circumstances. Gordon Taylor, ABC News, Canberra.
The Canberra Liberals have a new leader, with former Deputy Alistair Coe elected unopposed. The leadership was made vacant after the party's election defeat, and incumbent Jeremy Hanson chose not to stand. Here's ACT political reporter James Fettis. One version of unity from Labor and another from the Liberals.
There is a united team to take us forward.
That team didn't front the cameras today, but their choice certainly did.
I was elected as leader, unopposed, and Nicole Lauder was elected as deputy leader of the Canberra Liberals, unopposed.
The move brings an end to the leadership of Jeremy Hanson, a moderate who chose not to stand against his Conservative counterpart.
We've of course had many conversations over the last week, but they've all been constructive, and I'm touched by the way that Jeremy is supporting this team.
As for why a change in leadership was necessary, Mr Coe would only praise his predecessor, but he has conceded lessons should be learned from the party's failed election campaign.
There were clearly things that worked for the Labor Party that either we did not do in the Liberal Party or things that we did not do as well as we could.
The new deputy seems somewhat surprised at her newfound position.
This isn't something that I expected to take on.
But she rejects the suggestion she's there because she's a moderate and a woman.
No, I don't think so, and I would certainly encourage you to think that I've been elected on my merits by my colleagues. You know, I have long and broad experience in the private, the public and the not-for-profit sectors.
In a statement, Mr Hanson said it's been a privilege to have been leader of the Canberra Liberals, and he looks forward to representing his electorate for the next 4 years. Alistair Coe takes the reins of a party that's staring down the barrel of 19 years in opposition. He's the man who led the party's attacks on light rail, an election strategy that not only failed but saw a swing against them. Mr Coe's ascendancy also marks a return to conservatism in the leadership, but the man in charge rejects being pigeonholed by ideology.
Other people can choose to put labels on people. I'm not interested in that. I'm far more interested in taking forward a positive agenda for Canberra.
The Assembly next meets on Monday. James Fettis, ABC News, Canberra. And the new Liberals leader Alistair Coe joined Craig Allen a short time ago.
Alistair Coe, thanks for speaking with me. You led the Liberal Party's charge against light rail leading up to the election. Why has the party now rewarded you with the leadership for a failed campaign?
Well, as you well know, and your viewers would know, the Canberra Liberals had real reservations about the light rail project. We were very concerned about the impact on buses, we were concerned that few people live within walking distance, and we're also concerned about the cost. The government does have a mandate. We accept that for stage 1 of light rail. So light rail will be going ahead. We think we prosecuted the case well. We think that we did the best we possibly could in terms of litigating that light rail issue. The Canberra population have endorsed a Labor Greens government, so therefore light rail is going to happen.
Okay, but you've only said that they've got a mandate for stage 1. So you're not going to give up on fighting stage 2?
Well, what we are going to do is exactly what the government has said with regard to stage 2, and that is to review a business case and to make an informed decision afterwards. It would be irresponsible for us to commit to stage 2 prior to seeing that business case. So we want to see the evidence, we want to make an informed decision, and we'll go from there.
But don't you think that the electorate overwhelmingly voted for the light rail strategy? They voted for the vision of the Barr government to build a light rail network, not just one stage.
Well, we accept they've got a mandate, a specific mandate for stage 1. The government was always murky when it comes to the detail of stage 2, and they've said themselves that they're going to have to do a business case and review that business case. We think that's the responsible course of action, to see that business case, but we're not going to give any government a blank cheque of billions of dollars. We're going to make sure that whatever the investment is, that it's a wise investment.
Where do you think Jeremy Hanson lost the election?
Look, Jeremy, I think, has done a great job leading the Canberra Liberals for the last 3 or 4 years. It's a tough job being Leader of Opposition. I've seen him do that role, and he's done it well. Obviously, we didn't get up about 10 days ago. We do need to make reforms, make changes to how we campaign. I think many of our policies are very acceptable to Canberra population, so it's important we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think we need to make sure we've got a thorough review and make sure that we modernise our campaign techniques and our consultation styles so that we're in the best possible position to be not only a strong opposition but also an alternate government.
Well, let's talk about the direction that you want to take the Liberal Party. You're well known, of course, for your conservative views, much more conservative in some respects than the leader that you've just replaced. That sort of brand of conservative Liberal politics has been rejected time and time again by the electorate over the last 15 years. Why isn't it time now to bring the Liberal Party into the sensible middle?
Well, these are labels that other people choose to give me or choose to give others.
So you reject them?
So what I would say is I'm far more interested in the municipal services and the state responsibilities of the territory government. Look at my record over the last 8 years. I have been steadfast in my commitment for things such as infrastructure, things such as the buses, all sorts of other very local, very tangible things. I'm not interested in going down these tangents, which many people want.
Yes, but next time there's a legislative assembly,
that really matter to Canberrans.
Next time there's an assembly debate on same-sex marriage, for instance, they'll be looking to you for leadership, and your views are widely seen as being out of step with mainstream.
There is a diversity of view in the Liberal Party, and that's one of the great things about the Liberal Party. We are not all in lockstep on every single issue. There is a broad range of people. We have a very diverse team, and I think we should be celebrating that. And so to that end, I think the Canberra Liberals actually represent the Canberra population in that there is a broad spectrum of views, a broad spectrum of backgrounds, and that'll be reflected in the Assembly.
Alistair Coe, thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you.
The global computer company IBM has offered to refund money to the government for bungling the census. At a parliamentary inquiry, its executives have given their first public explanation of what went wrong with cybersecurity in August. Here's National Affairs correspondent Greg Jennett.
IBM and I personally unreservedly apologise to the Australian public.
Now it's the global tech giant's turn to be counted.
We take full responsibility for our role.
IBM's a $150 billion company, but its $10 million contract for Census 2016 has cost its reputation dearly, especially with the government that paid for it.
As the customer, the Commonwealth was not well served.
Remember, every household must participate.
The big night on the 9th of August brought census cyber attacks in 4 waves. The first just after 10 a.m, another an hour and a half later, then one in the late afternoon. That attack triggered IBM's Island Australia geo-block protocol, an order to its 2 contracted internet service providers, Telstra and NextGen, to block out international traffic. Telstra succeeded, but one of NextGen's partners in Singapore didn't. It was that pipe that was exploited by overseas attackers 2.5 hours later, and sensing what it calls the apparent appearance of outgoing traffic, an actual hack, the entire census was shut down. The Island Australia defence had crumbled. Industry critics believe it was flawed from the start.
There certainly were better alternatives, yes.
We still believe that the geo-blocking approach was particularly well suited to the nature of the census website.
IBM will have to fight a lot harder if it's to win the next census contract in 2021, and it's still not finished with this one. Executives are in talks with Treasury over paying compensation, but no one in the company's been disciplined or lost their job because of their failures. which bucks a recent trend in the public sector.
This is a government who is so ruthless that when they get the advice they don't want, they'll go after the messenger.
Labor's hot on the trail of fallen public servants and the departing Solicitor-General to suggest Cabinet's callous and vindictive towards those on its payroll.
We value immensely the very frank advice we get from the Australian Public Service.
He describes the Solicitor-General's decision to quit as regrettable. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
Hillary Clinton is polling up to 12 points ahead of Donald Trump as the US presidential campaign enters its final fortnight. 6 million Americans have already cast their ballots, but in some states like Pennsylvania, early voting isn't allowed without special permission. Donald Trump supporters are refusing to believe the unfavourable polls, and as Zoe Daniel reports, they're taking extraordinary steps to get behind their candidate.
It's a story of two Pennsylvanias, and here in the hills out west, it's Donald Trump's narrative that prevails. Hillary Clinton is ahead by about 6 points in this so-called battleground state, mirroring her average national lead. But Donald Trump's supporters don't believe either.
Hi. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Trump house.
In Youngstown, Donald Trump looms large. This house, painted to motivate his supporters, is attracting as many as 1,000 tourists a day.
He was saying what people are thinking but don't want to say out loud.
House owner Leslie Beaumorossi rejects the negative polls outright.
I can't believe them from what I'm seeing. I mean, this is such a small town and I have thousands of people coming here in a week. People come here in large groups. I've had 30 people stand in front of this statue of Mr. Trump and take pictures, and they're so excited.
A new poll has Hillary Clinton up as many as 12 points over Donald Trump nationally. A second poll out today has her up 5.
These are what they call them dark polls. They are phony polls put out by phony media.
All this talk about the election being rigged, trying to stir up people who are supporting him at his rallies, that is a direct threat to our democracy.
Today, Senator Elizabeth Warren continued to turn Donald Trump's words against him, using his nasty woman comment from the third debate as a rallying cry.
Get this, Donald. Nasty women are tough. Nasty women are smart. And nasty women vote.
It's self-described nasty women like Phyllis Friend in Pennsylvania that Mrs. Clinton is relying on. Among women voters, she holds a 20-point lead nationally. They could deliver her the White House.
I am cautiously optimistic that she's going to win, but I don't think any of us are taking it for granted.
More than 6 million people have already voted, with up to 50 million expected to vote before the election. In many states, that may mean it's too late for Donald Trump to make up ground because the election is effectively already underway. Hillary Clinton knows that well. She wants Democrats to vote early. Here in Pennsylvania, though, there's no early voting without an excuse, which means there's still time for people to change their mind or choose not to vote at all. Zoe Daniel, ABC News, Western Pennsylvania.
Thousands of asylum seekers are on the move as French authorities begin clearing the notorious jungle refugee camp in Calais. Most are leaving of their own free will, choosing to be resettled in France while their asylum requests are considered. But some are reluctant to go, and there are fears the mood could change later in the week when the camp is destroyed. Europe correspondent James Glendave reports.
Thousands queued in the cold before dawn. Some gave up everything to come to Calais. Now they're prepared to do anything to get out.
Because I want to see other life. This life is not good.
Inside the camp's processing centre, they're split into groups. Names, ages and country of origin are noted.
They're 14 and they need to be there.
A destination is then picked off a map before they board buses for a new temporary home. It could take several days to deal with all 7,000 asylum seekers. At times, the queues became chaotic, but by this camp's standards, the proceedings were peaceful. Authorities aren't worried about those who want to leave, but those determined to remain.
There will probably about 2,000 people who will decide to stay in Calais.
Some are still planning to get on Britain-bound trains or trucks.
England only. France, no. Any European country, no. UK.
And there are fears of fresh clashes when the bulldozers move in. James Glenday, ABC News.
When Australians are killed on the battlefield, attention rarely focuses on the family members left behind. Artist Ben Quilty is changing that. He's been commissioned by the Australian War Memorial to create portraits of those who live with the ripple effects of war. Siobhan Henu reports.
Ellie Lou Diddams was 15 when her father, Blaine Diddams, was killed in Afghanistan.
Your whole life just shatters in front of you, basically. There's not really any words to describe that.
She said she felt scared and alone in the years after her father's death, and this painting portrays that.
It's not just about the soldiers, it's about what they leave behind and what their dedication and loss for Australia means to everyone else left at home.
The artist is Ben Quilty. The War Memorial asked him to paint 3 women with 3 different stories of loss.
His ability to look inside you and to see what you try and hide from the world is truly remarkable.
Elvie Wood's husband, Brett Wood, was also killed in Afghanistan, while Lisa Kwok's husband returned from Afghanistan but severely affected with PTSD.
It is very confronting because we are sharing really deeply personal things that traditionally are kept behind closed doors.
The hope is that those stories will no longer be hidden away.
The men and women who served in Afghanistan were really under this false belief that they couldn't talk about anything. So they often ask that their family doesn't even discuss it.
The War Memorial says art like this can serve as therapy.
For these men and women returning to a country that has no idea, absolutely no idea what they have been doing, the impact it's had on them, let alone the impact on their families.
By wearing their loss so openly, these women show that courage comes in many forms. Siobhan Henu, ABC News, Canberra.
To finance now, and demand for bank and mining stocks pushed the Australian share market higher today. Here's Alan Kohler.
Well, on the whole, it was a fairly solid session with the All Ordinaries up 0.5% because of moderate gains by the banks and miners, led by Westpac and Rio Tinto. But the prang of the day was Bega Cheese after the annual meeting, which was held at the Sapphire Coast Turf Club in beautiful Callaroo near the Horseshoe Lagoon, south of Tathra. Directors were a bit gloomy about prospects in the dairy industry and actually wrote off $7 million worth of stock, so investors sliced the shares by 17%. Other dairy businesses like Bellamy's and A2 Milk got caught in the backwash. Now, although these fairly small businesses had a bad day, it's been a great year for small stocks in general. This chart shows the Small Ordinaries Index, which is comprised of the 100 stocks between the ASX 200 and 300, and it's gone up 10% this year, and the 20 Leaders Index, that is the blue chips, which has been dead flat. Global markets were mostly up last night and today, with Nasdaq doing better than the main New York board, thanks to another strong gain by Microsoft. There's been quite a bit of interest in Microsoft this week, getting to a new record high, which basically means it's back to where it was in early 2000, which is $60. And while Microsoft has done well lately, up 7.5% in 3 months, arch rival Apple has done better. It's up 20%. And just to drive the point home, while Microsoft has gone from $60 to $61 over the past 16 years, Apple has gone from $1 to $117, a 35% per annum compound return. On commodity markets, iron ore went up, but oil, gold and wheat went down, and the Australian dollar was steady. Again, it's been remarkably stable at around 76 US cents for 4 months now, and that's finance.
Australian cricketers could be wearing concussion sensors in their helmets as early as next summer. Cricket Australia has revealed it's trialling state-of-the-art technology to help understand the impact of high-speed head knocks.
When Daniel Hughes was hit last week, it sent a shudder through the cricket community.
Oh, it's a nasty one.
Almost 2 years since the death of Philip Hughes, Daniel Hughes became the first Australian cricketer subbed out of a one-day match with concussion. Cricket Australia is trialling the substitution rule for this season's Big Bash and domestic one-day games.
It's sort of a fact-finding situation at the moment for us.
Cricket Australia is also looking at installing sensors in helmets to monitor the impact of hits to the head.
We've put a high priority on understanding concussion, like most other sporting organisations in the last 3 or 4 years are doing the same thing, and the sensors is one of those areas.
It's a move that's already being trialled by the NFL. Sensors are placed inside a player's helmet to measure and rank the level of knocks to the head. That ranking is relayed to a trainer with a handheld device who can determine whether or not the player needs to undergo concussion testing.
Once we understand the technology better and have a confidence in technology, then we're probably not far away from introducing it and trialling it in players and in games. It won't happen this summer. It's more likely to happen in the next 12 months.
Anything that helps the safety of the players out, I'm all for, so let's see where that goes.
While Cricket Australia is leading the charge in the short forms of the game, the International Cricket Council is yet to change the guidelines that govern first-class matches. That means there's no provisions for a concussed player to be replaced during Sheffield Shield or international fixtures.
Cricket's a sport that doesn't have substitutes, so it is a massive cultural change and a big change for the game to allow that.
Cricket Australia will report to the ICC on its substitution trial at the end of the summer. Jennifer Browning, ABC News.
One of Australia's greatest sporting rivalries will be rekindled when Anthony Mundine and Danny Green get back in the ring next year. The boxers were in South Australia today to trade barbs and announced they'll fight each other again at Adelaide Oval.
It may be 10 years since they last met in the ring, but there's still plenty of feeling between Danny Green and Anthony Mundine.
I'm going to school him again. Skills pay the bills, baby. These knuckles will make you redundant. Like I did in 2006, and you're going to see this time I'm not going to leave it to the end.
In 2006, Mundine won over 12 rounds in a unanimous points decision. The rematch at the Adelaide Oval will be Green's chance at revenge. But whatever the result, both boxers will reportedly walk away with $10 million in prize money.
This is too big to refuse, in every sense of the word. Not just the money, but the event, the rivalry.
The first fight was a monster affair. It was the biggest fight in Australian boxing history, and I'm sure, without doubt, that this fight will eclipse that.
Mundine's last fight was in the super welterweight category. He'll need to stack on 13 kilograms to reach the 83 kilogram weight limit. With both men in their 40s, it's likely to be their last professional bout.
Such a cliche thing, but it will be a great way to finish my career with a resounding victory here at Adelaide Oval in front of 50,000 people. Can't wait.
The South Australian government had to fight off bids from Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth to secure the event, but it won't say how many taxpayer dollars it had to spend to do so.
This will put us on the map again nationally, but also through a global audience as well. The boxing channels that are around the world, they're going to love this fight.
Tickets go on sale on Thursday. Lucas Fonton, ABC News, Adelaide.
To the weather now, and thanks to Alex McKay, who captured this lovely image at Wallaroo near Hall early yesterday morning. And you can share your best shots of Canberra and surrounds. Just send them to the address on your screen. And remember, we can only use photos in landscape format. Around Canberra today, another brisk start, just 1 degree, but then a pleasant 21 or 22 degrees this afternoon, under blue skies with a moderate northerly wind. And look around the rest of the region, up as warm as 27 in Nowra and 26 in Griffith. Most other places around the low to mid-20s. It was a dry day throughout north-eastern Australia with some showers through southern WA. Sydney reached 23 today, Brisbane 27, Melbourne 26. A high-pressure cell is keeping much of the east and north of the country under clear skies, while another front in the west is producing showers through WA into South Australia. That low-pressure trough will cross the southern states in coming days, followed by another cold front. But we're not expected any rain out of that system, with the next showery change not forecast till late on Sunday. Adelaide, Melbourne and Hobart could get rain tomorrow though. Sydney and Brisbane will be hot and fine. And it'll be mostly fine and warm locally too. Cooma could get a drop or two as that change clips the far south. But again, temperatures in the high 20s on the coast, around 23 to 25 inland. For Canberra, it'll be a cloudy Wednesday with some gusty northwesterly winds. A mild night down to 7 degrees, up to 23 tomorrow. Sun's up at 6:07, setting at 7:28. We'll see a dip in temperatures late in the week and that showery change on Sunday with a possible late storm. And that's the latest from the Canberra newsroom. I'm James Fettis. Thanks for your company. Stay with us now for 7:30 with Lee Sales.